in Greek and Roman religion and just philosophy and things like that, like they used Homer, they used a lot of ancient texts that those were their proverbs. Like, and so they had different sayings that were wise and true and different things like that. And so Paul would listen, understand these things, and basically appropriate him. He'd say, do not your poets say, and then make his point. And it's like, if you're going to make the point from what they can relate with, they're way more likely. But it doesn't make any sense for Paul to be talking to a bunch of Greek people, and he's like, yes, and when Moses, it's like, who's Moses? Mm-hmm. Like, they're Greeks. They don't know who Moses is. He's using their points, not his own, to make his defense. It's not that Paul can't make a Jewish defense. It's just not relevant here. And so I think that's what the gist of that is do we understand other people's worldview well enough to make the point in their thing? It's like, can we only win home games, or are we able to win games on the road?
Yeah, I feel like it's no different than like when you switch over, like when you're in a conversation with somebody and it's like, oh, do you listen to like hip hop, rap, whatever? And it's like, oh, no, I only listen to like rock or like whatever. And it's like, okay, well, I'm trying to explain to you who Michael Jackson is. So, or it's like, you don't know who Michael Jackson is, or maybe it's like pop, or the point. If you're trying to explain to someone who's Michael Jackson or who was Tupac or who was Nipsey Hussle, it's like, okay, you listen to rock, to Elvis,
right?
For them to be like, oh yeah, I know Elvis,
right?
Okay, the equivalent in like fame as well as in this and like records sold to this, you know all that about Elvis? Yes, that's who this person is in this, with these people over here in this community over here. It's like I thought about that when you brought up Moses, because I'm like, if someone's like trying to communicate Moses, even if a person says, yeah, so there's this guy named Moses, and I know y'all probably don't know who Moses is. Do y'all know Moses? No? Okay. So who is somebody in your guys' world that did X, Y, Z to some degree of that? And if they're like, oh, we call, that was so-and-so. It's like, that's who I'm talking about. Same type of person, same. But you would have to know, what did Moses do? What did he stand for? What was his life like? What challenges did he have to go through? The same way, to be able to compare Tupac or Michael Jackson or somebody to an Elvis, it's like, are they a good comparison? Because somebody might argue, though, that's a terrible two people to compare, because this person completely sold millions and billions, and this person only reached the thousands. So maybe you might want to use so-and-so as a comparison. And it makes me think of, to keep going off of what you were saying with the poets thing, when Paul was talking to the Athenians. I think another thing I thought about while you were giving that example was Paul knew God, the concept of God, so well. You know what I mean? Yeah. Which goes back to he knew Moses, or if you knew Tupac or whoever. It's like Paul understood God enough to where when he looks at what their poets talk about, and he's saying, your own poets are saying that we are, whatever this God is, we're his offspring. We are his offspring. Yeah. So if y'all got these idols and statues and an inscription of the unknown God on things made of stone, how in the world could we be his offspring if we see what we're made of? We see how we operate compared to things that are stationary and made of stone. Then how are we his offspring? Or how are we the stone's offspring? We know we didn't come from no stone. Like, for him to even make that connection, but you have to know who God is. Right. And to know the difference between a human being, what God is, and then identifying, like you said, like the other person's worldview. And it's like, that's a statue. Right. But y'all think we come from, we're God's offspring. So the math ain't mathing. Something's not adding up. But if you know that, you can make that comparison. But if all you know is the titles, like we were talking about, I know that you guys have a, like idols. Right. And I believe in sin. God. Yep. Not the same. Y'all are wrong. It's like, whoa, you could have actually bridged that gap like Paul did if you would have just gotten into the contents and the details of what you're talking about. Yeah. So,
and it's like two issues, because one is that most don't have the skill set to do what Paul did. The other half of the problem is that if people did what Paul did today, it might be called heresy. Like the idea
I get called that all the time.
Yeah, the idea of relating with a belief system that isn't yours. Like, in and of itself, if we just bar for bar did the equivalent today and said, hey, Buddhists, y'all believe this and this and this and this. Mm-hmm. All of that is good. Like, let's talk about, and it's just like that whole concept gets frowned at so quickly that, yeah, it's just one of those things where it's like, not only do we not have the skill, but we don't even appreciate the skill anymore. We don't value it. Like, we'd actually call that incorrect. So it's like, what are the chances of us doing what Paul did when we actually think what Paul did today would be considered wrong? Like,
right.
It cuts the chances in half of people developing and learning to relate and listen as well as he did. Because people can't possibly see the value in listening if you're just going to say what you were going to say anyway. Like, they're actually, like, to be honest, it's like, in the Christian's defense, there's no point to listen if you came with the script.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's like, if you came...
That's real with cold calls.
Just
cold calling on the phone. If you following the script.
Yeah.
It's like, I've done it. When I didn't understand the product at the tech company I was working for, and it's like I was early, just, new hire.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm following the script because I don't understand how to, but that's the point. I didn't understand the product well enough.
Yeah.
That's literally the point. It's like,
Yes.
I'm going to follow the script. And when somebody asks me a question that's not in this script,
Right.
I'm like, oh, well, here comes the referrals.
Yep.
Or here comes the, oh, okay, I'll get back to you on that. Or I try to wing it and I'm just like, or I just don't answer their question and I just ramble.
Yes. Talk straight
With
through
the
it.
script, with what I do know. But it's like, to me, I don't care. I mean, not that I don't care, but it's like, if you winging it, you're trying to just like, you're new, you can ask your manager or your team. It's like, but to stay that way would be bad in the company, to continue to not grow and to learn the product to where now I can deviate from the script and I can actually answer people's questions that have nothing to do with the script.
Yeah.
Like, that's called, you know your stuff. You really believe in your product and you understand it.